Salut survivors, welcome back to SolutOdka's channel in Medieval Dynasty Guide series. In this week's video, we are going to do a village tour and discuss on some topics for each zones of my village, Solut'Burg. I'm now on year 5, somehow in the mid game with 25 plus villagers and a ramp up of the production. So I will present to you what is my situation and what have been my stages of development in terms of farming, animal husbandry, extraction, production, and villagers. Now let's go straight to our village tour. So first things first, it's where did I build and why did I build here? If you look at the map, I have located my village northeast of Denica in a relatively central position in the north of the map because it's close to all these villages, obviously, and the proximity of the lake for me gives some really nice landscape, sunrises, sunsets. It's really nice. Then this specific location, as you can see, down there in the south, there is this waterfall. So one of the first things I did in this game has been to lay out the master plan of the city based on that waterfall partially. I built here this road at the beginning of the game. I built another road on the opposite side of the river, and based on that I did a pen and paper sketch on how I would like the city to develop. So now let's have a look at the map about that layouting or master planning of the city. On the west side of the river, it is my intent to have all the fields, barns, tavern, and food and cooking area. On the east side, it's the industrial zone with all the production buildings, smithy, workshop, sewing hut, etc. And then I have a ring of residential. Now outside of the city, more in the south here, I have all my woodsheds, hunter, herbalist. Now further east, I have here an extraction building for stones, limestone, and clay, which in the early game was convenient on the way to Gostovia, also acting as a temporary storage chest. And then in the north, close to the mine, because for now I need to mine myself, I don't have yet the mine building unlocked. Then I have this storage building, which permits also to do some trading with Branica and Baranica. So to do a little tour of the village, I have divided the different residential areas per fruit trees. So this area here is the apple trees area, right? Obviously. Here is my brand new uptown. It's not yet completed, as you can see. I have the last uptown house to build there. It's also designed to be with apple trees. I haven't yet unlocked the stone fences, but as soon as I will have stone fences, I will then build some nice little parcels and so on. Now, a cool feature in the game is when you look at your management tab in your houses, you can name the houses. So you can pick a house and click H, and you can then name the houses. So for example, my different apple streets, there is apple 1, apple 2, apple 3, and apple 4 in the apple street. And then I write the names of the people who live there. That makes it very useful for some of the points I will detail a bit later. So then I have my cherry area. That's obviously for cherry trees, plum, and then some newly developed area, goose, and down at the bottom, the farm area. Now, why do I do that? It's because when you have people working in production buildings or extraction buildings, the time that they walk to go there does not matter. However, for the people working in the barn, specifically for the farmers who will go to work in the fields, it matters a lot. So if my field workers or my farmers would be living on the east side of the city, then they would spend most of their time to travel to go to the bounds and vice versa. So by doing this naming system, one, it's cool and role play to have streets with names. You can then this way pick your farmers to live close to your barn in a controlled manner. Otherwise, you have all your houses called the house number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you don't know, when you have 30 houses, which house is for what citizen. Okay, so that was here the apple area. Here will be in the future the tavern. I mean, now it's a bit crazy. You need 10,000 points in production to get the tavern. That's a slot for the tavern. We booked the place. And as mentioned here, kitchen, food storage, and so on. We'll go back to the fields and talk a bit about the field in a little minute. Let's do a little tour here. That's our cherry trees area, which I will develop much further once I have these stone fences and nice looking lanterns. Then we arrive here in the plums area and my house. Actually, it is a simple house, but that's mine. It's here. So this way I'm very close to my main resource storage and all the crafting. So if by night or late evening I want to do some crafting, it's convenient. And when the morning I wake up, then I have the nice view and I can cheer up with all my villagers here. Good. Then in the other topics of development, it's the animal husbandry. Right. So here it's all my animals area. I have now here the lambs. We can hear them. Thank you very much. Here's the geese. That's my 2 houses with the geese here. Geese 1, geese 2. And the most important one I'd like to discuss are the piggeries here, or pigsties. So for my pigs here, I have this nice little parcel. And I need a lot of pigs because I need to craft a lot of fertilizer. I have tons of fields, and in order to provide for all the fertilizers on my fields, I need to produce an extremely high amount of fertilizer. Actually, right now with my 2 pigsties, I am overproducing fertilizer, to be honest. So, as you can see, that leads me to the second point. I have 2 barns. It's only right now for the year 5 that I built this second barn. Originally, this was my first barn here from the beginning of the game. And I have this little apple trees area to kind of show that that's the entrance of the agricultural zone of the city. Now, this barn was not enough, one, because I needed to have more farmers and barn workers. However, I feel that having 2 barns is a really important advantage, because the farmers will typically work on the fields that are the closest to their barn. So if I want them to work on this flax field here, or this cabbage field here, for example, then I need to tell them to work in this barn. If, on the other hand, I want them to work in priority on this wheat field here, or this other flax field, then I can tell them to work in this barn. That's one advantage of having 2 barns. The other one is on your management tab, when you want to have one focused mostly on producing fertilizer and animal feed, for example, and the other one can have a rotation through the year to use a threshold to utilize for the flax or the rye or the oat, depending on the season. So that's easier to manage that way. Now what I did, I have seen a lot of discussions and people asking me, but basically my goal has been in the early game first year, it's explained in my video, Your First Villager, I have planted 30 seeds including 10 seeds of flax. However, when you harvest flax, you get around 8 seeds per plot, per square. So from my first 10 seeds, then I got 80 seeds, And then on the year 2, I had almost this square here of 10 by 10, 100 blocks. Since then, on the year 2, I was able to make enough cash from this business, and I invested into the pigsty, where I got 1 male, 1 female, and 1 piglet, if I'm not mistaken, at that time. And I was able to grow from 1 pigsty to 2 pigsties quite fast, because these pigs, they make babies like crazy, you know. I mean, nowadays, how many do I have now? Now I have 9 pigs. They all came, you can see here that's the old ones, 4.5, 4.25. Then I got one of these the piglets, and they all bred by themselves. So then I have split them in between the 2 pigsties. Now this manure, once again, is fundamental in order to get all these fields. The other little trick, and then we move on to the next topic, is on multiple fields. I don't have only one produce. So I have some fields dedicated to flax, and then most of the others are split into 3. So I have 1/3 for rye, 1/3 for oat, and then the middle is dedicated to a vegetable, either cabbage or beetroot or carrots like this one here. And if I do that, it's because in case the farmers don't have the time in the season to finish their job, then this way I reduce the risk to have 0 cabbage or 0 rye or 0 oats produce, because then I would have this field being 1/3 rye, 1/3 oat, 1/3 cabbages, and there are multiple fields like that. While if I had one huge field of rye and one huge field of cabbages, then there would be a risk that they cannot finish a field, 1. And 2, it means that there is a little bit of work on every field all the time. So I am kind of balancing the workload. And if ever I would like to, I could send 6 to 10 farmers in the on the job on a one peak of workload, and they would be able to work up to 3, or actually 4, but in reality it's often more like 3 people, 3 farmers per field, so they can get more job done if needed in a short period of time. So enough about the fields. I think next what's probably interesting a little bit, it's the tools and the crafting. So what I have done here was early on a simple workshop, smithy, and sewing hut. They are now all upgraded to level 2, these ones. My wife was a blacksmith, but right now she's taking care of our son, Snowid. So I have hired 2 new guys here to work in the blacksmith. And something I'm doing, which when reading discussions on the Reddit or on the YouTube channel page, people have different opinions. But what I'm doing is that since you can get buildings such as the woodshed and the excavation shed to produce raw materials for you, meaning logs, sticks, and stones, then a vast majority of the production I'm doing in my workshop are the tools for my workers. So they produce, sorry, not the workshop, the smithy. So they produce access for the woodcutters, pickaxes for the excavation shed, hoes for the farmers, stone knife for the hunters. But I'm not using them to produce copper or bronze tools. These copper and bronze tools require resources, copper and bronze and tin, or copper and tin to make bronze, that I need to harvest by myself. Therefore, I am not letting them produce this. I produce myself these tools. So I have selected, say, the bronze sickle, the bronze shearing scissors for the lamps to produce wool, and copper knives to finish to utilize my excess of copper. Then, as you can see, another thing that I like to do is create these little gathering places for the NPCs. So before work and after work, then they come hang out in these different locations, which is pretty nice, as you could see earlier in the video, for breakfast. Now, there is something you need to know when you do that, is that here my village is already spreading quite far, from the east there up to the west in that direction. It's pretty far. And in fact, so my public area development along the river, we can see that these citizens typically do not go to gather on the west side. Now the southwest and northwest villagers will utilize these public areas and vice versa. So it's not like they will all travel super far to go to these gathering spots. It will there is a maximum radius for it. Okay, now I think one thing I'd like to mention is what next. So in the village, because as part of this planning, I'm kind of halfway through. So I have built this bridge here, and we have this existing one in the north and the existing one in the south here. So I have not developed much this area. I mean, I have a couple of wood sheds up there. I have put my my lamp building here, and I'm not yet fully sure how I am going to develop this area with a waterfall. Obviously, I want to do something about it, but it's very steep, so I cannot easily do as I would like to do originally. I'm not yet sure. I have several ideas, but I don't know how I will do that. In the other goals, I'll want to produce milk, not from that building here where I have lamb and I could get sheep, but I want to produce tons of wool because my sewing huts are one of my main incomes after my my fields and my agricultural products. So this one will be for the wool production. So I guess I'll go for the milk and try the cheese. I haven't yet tried cheese. That will be one of my next goals. And of course, a mine, market stall, tavern, all this will be part of my development. Anyway, please let me know if you find this type of video interesting and cool. Could do the same for the year 10 in a few weeks. In the meantime, I'll work on some more video guides. I invite you to drop by the channel community page. You can share your opinion on what video guides you would prefer to see next on the channel. I post also updates from time to time, so you can go check it out. On that note, let's toast to the like and subscribe buttons. I appreciate the support very much. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Cheers!